Once again, we're covering a light gun game today. There will be a lot of flashing on the screen. Consider this your epilepsy warning. Here's a little bit of gameplay footage to help you judge whether it's going to be an issue for you. Assuming you're all good, let's carry on with the review.
Last time we looked at House of the Dead on Sega Saturn, which I criticised for lacking features and being a little awkward to obtain and set up. Let's see if the Dreamcast sequel, The House of the Dead 2, can solve any of those issues.
At first glance, the modes on offer seem to be exactly the same as the original game, and I assumed I'd be spending most of my time in arcade mode. I'm happy to report I was completely wrong about that. Original mode really surprised me. It ignores your settings from the options menu, defaulting to normal difficulty, free health 5 continues, but you can unlock and apply modifiers. Shooting objects in the environment or saving civilians during one playthrough gives you new toys to play with in the next. These can range from new weapons, like the shotgun and machine gun, somewhat foreshadowing House of the Dead 3 and 4, to new costumes. Here I am being told about the villain, Goldman, while playing as Goldman. Then there's the hilarious and bizarre, such as monkey proportions for all human characters. Beating this mode for the first time unlocks Red Blood, which is a must-have for me. At first, that was all I was really interested in, but these weird and wonderful unlocks, which truly changed the way I play, kept me coming back for way more playthroughs than I ever intended. For example, the increased damage and small chamber of the grenade launcher paired perfectly with the big head mode and made me focus on taking fewer, more accurate shots. We then have training mode, which is bloody hard. You'll have tasks like killing 10 enemies with only 20 bullets and just 2 health points that genuinely improve your skills by forcing you to focus on refining your aim, prioritizing foes, and targeting specific limbs. There's also a boss mode where you'll battle each of them against a timer and be ranked on your performance. Completing both training and boss modes unlocks new rewards for original mode, meaning everything you do opens up new possibilities and ways to play through the main campaign. It's a really rewarding cycle, and I'm blown away by the amount of replay value it adds to House of the Dead 2. It does, however, make the arcade mode kind of redundant. It's gone from being the main attraction in the first game to something that's not really worth your time in this sequel, despite being the first option you see when booting up the game. I was also left a little sour by the boss mode, as there are 2 variants of most encounters. It comes about because the split paths from the first game return. Saving civilians, shooting locks and keys, and other actions can take you down different routes, but you'll quickly notice there are 2 main strands and 2 places where you can encounter most bosses. Sure, the surroundings and their attack patterns are slightly different, but they're essentially the same fight. Boss mode counts these separately, so you have to achieve a high ranking twice over. To add insult to injury, the main campaign gives you a boss rush spread over the final 2 stages, and the final boss's second phase steals all of their attacks. I got very good at killing these guys, but I was also sick of the sight of them by the time I put the game down. That said, the second boss resembling a Power Rangers villain still makes me chuckle. The only boss I never got good at killing is the Emperor. It's the final battle, and oh boy do the arcade roots show through here. The boss is cheap, there's no 2 ways about it. The weak point's small, I swear clean hits were out and out ignored, it uses a ton of projectiles, and it's really frustrating. I'm not ashamed to admit the only time I beat it was using an infinite credits modifier I'd found on a previous run. On the plus side, the game looks amazing. You can really see the alignment between Sega's Naomi arcade hardware and the Dreamcast with this one. The home port of the original game was heavily scrutinized for its graphical downgrade, but here I really can't tell the Dreamcast and arcade version apart. I imagine it looks even better if you're playing the Wii version on a Wii U over HDMI, but I don't have those to hand to find out. I was really impressed by the scope too. The original game was confined to a mansion, but this time an entire town's infected. Damn it, I thought we talked about this! You'll spend time on the streets, in historic buildings, exploring labs, and get to cruise around in a couple of vehicles. It's certainly bigger, but as a fan of smaller, more detailed and intimately familiar game environments, I'm not convinced it's necessarily better. Of course, I'd be remiss not to mention the voice acting. It's a meme on its own at this point, and certainly in the so bad it's good category. I'm not going to beat a dead horse, but yes, even for the time it came out, this was hilariously awful.
I don't want to die! My God.
Well, the 1998 curing case. Guess who's behind it? It was Goldman. He's the head one of the most eminent financial group and an expert on the genome theory.
Man committed a sin, disturbing the life cycle of nature. The original sin that man is responsible to protect the life cycle.
I think the voice acting's low quality is more noticeable this time because there are more cutscenes. Oddly enough, this doesn't provide us with more lore or exposition. It's entirely possible to reach the end of the game without really knowing the link between this title's villain, Goldman, and the previous antagonist, Curian, or their motives. In fact, it's so underdeveloped that both House of the Dead 3 and 4 spend some time fleshing out these characters. With the overall presentation taking some great strides and making some huge improvements, the gameplay adopts more of an if it ain't broke, don't fix it approach. It's still fast, hectic, and twitchy. The only way to avoid damage is to kill or stun the enemy before they can strike you. Foes still take multiple shots before they go down, and your magazine and rate of fire are still quite low. It can certainly induce a sense of panic and tension. The gameplay's right up there alongside Time Crisis 2 as one of my absolute all-time favourite light gun games. Boosting this further is the Dreamcast gun. I'm told Americans had to settle for a third-party Mad Catz gun, which is a massive shame. This thing's so ergonomically designed. It feels great in the hand, the buttons are exactly where you need them to be, and the accuracy of this thing is phenomenal. This gun goes such a long way to making this experience feel amazing, and I highly recommend you use it in your playthroughs where you can.
I'm happy to say the House of the Dead 2 is a much more complete and feature-rich package than its predecessor, and is an absolute must-have for home console. Now, while I'm used to the Dreamcast version and I'll never get over the feel and precision of that gun on that screen, the Wii version is much cheaper and easier to obtain. Whichever way you go about it, make sure you play this one, guys, because it's absolutely fantastic.
And that's House of the Dead 2. Thank you very much for watching. I think next time will be a double bill of House of the Dead 3 and 4, so if you're looking forward to that, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you soon.